And I want to welcome everyone back to the final episode of Paint Sipping Relationships. Of course, with your host, Rain Congrejo and Bryson Capalini. Rain, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Mr. Capalini. How are you?
I'm fabulous. I mean, I'm thinking about all the episodes we've done, all the topics we've covered, even the lost episodes, which again, that doesn't reflect anything that the people from behind that promote this show, it don't reflect their opinions and views. That was just one of those things that we put out. We want to create laughter. But this episode is pretty deep, and the topic is your bar too low? Wow. Um, wow. So would you like to start us off with that? I mean, explaining when you say our bar as far as with relationships and life, what are you referring to?
I think sometimes we don't challenge ourselves to really go, we tend to settle for the status quo. So we don't think that we're good enough for somebody that might either make more money than us or be at a different type of, education level than us, something like that. And so we always think that, oh, I'm not good enough for that, so I'm just going to settle for this over here. And I think I've done it. I'm pretty sure you've done it, where we've kind of settled for people in our life. And then we turn around and we wonder why those relationships didn't work. And all along, those were people that we really weren't meant to be with. So when you look at, to me, I think people need to vet each other more, not just jump into a relationship, but really take the time. I think it's a lost art of dating, getting to know a person. Oh my God, he looks fine, or oh my gosh, she looks fine. Oh, she's got the banging body. Oh my gosh, look at him, and the abs and stuff like that. We're so focused on what we're seeing in the physical that we forget about the mental, because great, you could look great, but you could have a messed up attitude, and then you run off and you're with this person, and all of a sudden you're in this relationship, and then you start finding yourself looking and seeing the red flags. Well, did you vet that person? Did you ask the right questions? Did you take time to get to know that person? And you and I have even talked about this, where for me, it's going through the seasons, seeing that person in every season. Sure, there are people that can get married in 3 months and make it work, but those are few and far between. I mean, I know people like that. I'm pretty sure you know people like that, but it still takes a lot of work. It still takes a lot of time, in really getting to know each other, because then you come together and let's say, yes, it may work, but then what happens if you get with that person and it doesn't work and you really weren't a match? you know and so I'm really big on vetting and knowing, and especially a woman knowing what she wants, because if you don't know what you want, how are you going to walk into a relationship? Most women I see today get into a relationship and they want him to be the end all be all. Everything is put into him. All their eggs are in his basket. So if he walks away, then he's devastated, or she's devastated. Instead of saying, let me date myself. What are the things that I like? What are the things that I don't like? What am I willing to tolerate? What am I not willing to tolerate? What type of man do I want? You know, and in order to get that man, who do I have to become in order to get that man? And I'm not talking about faking the funk. I'm talking about actually becoming that person so that you're adding value to a man's life. Because once you add value to a man's life, the type of man that you're actually going to attract is not going to be that status quo man, if that makes sense. How about you?
Yeah, no, I think you hit it right on the nose. Um, my concern is if you're setting the bar too low, you have to start looking within first, right? Because if you're willing to accept something that is below your normal standards, what is that saying about you? Do you feel
Hmm.
you don't deserve something that is more on the level of someone that's adding to you? versus someone that you're going to be adding to and they're going to be draining you. Because you have to look at it from an energy perspective too. You have a certain energy and you have certain people that you have around you. If they're not helping to keep that energy up and going and are just draining you, that becomes to affect you physically, mentally, you know, spiritually, right? So when you set your bar low, okay, you have to really think about it. And I'm not just talking about types, because that's another thing. People think, well, I accepted this type, or I gave the guy a shot even though he wasn't my type. No, I'm talking about low, like, this person is not good for you. But just to save face and say that you got a man or you got a woman or somebody that's calling you and giving you some type of attention, you'd rather do that than be by yourself. That's what I mean by setting it low. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Does that make sense? I mean, so when you start doing that kind of a thing, you really got to look at it from a perspective of what is it saying about me? Am I just afraid to be by myself? Am I afraid to, so that I'll accept anything that's coming around because at least it's giving me some attention. At least I get some text, may not be consistent, may not be a phone call, as if someone that was on my level that I would want to be with would do. But it happens. I get a sparingly call here and there. So I'm just gonna roll with it. You deserve better than that. You have to look at it from what is it in it for me? What am I getting out of this? What is this adding to my life?
Mhm.
You know? And I think once you start to do that, then you can start raising that bar and not accepting something that's low. Doesn't mean you have to be mean. Don't mean you have to be like me and be an asshole. You can be you can be nice about it and just, hey, we can be the best of friends, but this is not gonna work because I have a certain standard here, and this is what I want because I deserve that. And I'm not going to settle for something that's not that just because I want to have someone to come on game with or just to run around with someone in my partner box or I can do this or do that with the person. I think that that's something that you have to really take real estate within yourself, and then you can take the time. So doing like you said, dating yourself. What do you like to do? What is a good date for you? What do you want in the person you're talking to outside of the shell? Let's get past the shell because after so many years, or even in SL, hell, so many months, which is like 50 years in SL, right? So after that, what about this person that makes me want to continue this going? For me, it was the fact that you challenged me. It's because we have a lot in common, literally. You know, we go out to breakfast and we ordering damn near the same meal. That was kind of freaky when that happened in real life, for real. But it was cool. It was just like, oh, okay, you know. And so it's like you you find those things like this, those little nuances or those hidden jewels about the person, and then that's what makes everything work, right? But you got to take time to do that. Like you said, going through the seasons. You know, SL and people how they think right now is they're always thinking of instant, like popcorn. I just want to put it in the microwave, 2 minutes, boom, it's done, or 3 minutes is done. Relationships ain't like that. You can't do it that way. You can,
Mhm.
but a lot of them ain't gonna, pan out too much. So that's my thoughts on the low bar thing.
I look at it as I don't look for somebody that I can be with. What I look for is a purpose partner. So, are we walking in the same purpose? Can we be in the same purpose? And again, this comes back to vetting. Here I'll give our audience a tidbit. When you're out on a date, and I'm saying you're out on the first date, second date, ask this question. So, when you were dating your last, or when you were in your ex, started dating or anything, or what made you break up, right? If a man or woman can take responsibility for their part in that relationship, yeah, I would move. I'd move to the next date and see where that goes from. If they start blaming the other person, get out, run quick, fast, because basically that's not going to work. It's never going to work for you. So, you've really got to understand who you are, because what can happen is your insecurity can creep in from other relationships. And, I think you and I were talking about this the other day, where something could literally jolt me that you would have done that my ex would have done. But then I have to really remember, you're not my ex, and even though it may look similar, you don't handle me the same way that my ex did. So I can't really put that on you. And then what happens is you've got to be in a place of vulnerability to be able to talk through those things and get to the other side. And so if you have that type of relationship, that's really what makes it last, because you have to have that open door, communication, but it has to be in a safe place where both of you feel safe to be vulnerable with each other. And I think sometimes that's what's missing between men and women, because, women, I'll be honest, and, until I started working in my femininity, I was like, I'm the breadwinner, I'm this, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. But then I had to sit back and realize, okay, but that's not who I am. That's what I do, but that's not who I am. So, what is going to make a man be attracted to me in my masculine all the time? He's going to flee. So, once I started living in my feminine and realized, and you and I have talked about this too, is there's the queen in me, and then there's the princess in me. And depending on the day, which one you get. Okay?
Right.
But but I mean, I really had to go through my own season in doing all that, in order to say, when you've gone through two or three, four bad, relationships or whatever, you have to really look and say, really, the common denominator is yourself. So now what do I need to do to fix myself? And a lot of people are not honest with that either. So if you really want to get into, a high functioning relationship and really being an asset to that high functioning man, then you're going to have to do some work and not live in that place where you've been living. Sometimes you got to change your friends. Sometimes you got to change your surroundings in order to get what you want. You got to stop thinking on that low level. I look at it just like money. I tell you all the time, people look at me, being poor is not a physical thing. Being poor is a mindset thing. Everything that you think or you let come out of your mouth and you put into your head, but you start to live. So you're creating your own universe. You're creating your own destiny. So if you continue to say, oh, I'm not good enough, or oh, I'm not this, or oh, I'm not that, then you're going to continue to set that bar low. I tell every woman she's a queen. The man should treat you as one. I'm old fashioned. Open my door. But that's just me. I'm not saying that every woman has to be like that, but find out what those boundaries are. Find out what those things that you like. Sit down, have a conversation with that man. If you want kids and he don't, okay, well, we already know this ain't going to work. Have those conversations, date 3, because then you don't want to go into date 4 and 5 and then, waste the time. But be very, very sure of yourself and what you want, because sometimes things can be tricked, and he'll say, I want this, and you'll find yourself wanting the same things he wants. And then in the end, you're not happy because you weren't honest with yourself. And then he's upset. And ultimately, that relationship is going to end because you both weren't honest, or you weren't honest with him and saying, I'm sorry, that's not me. So
True.
now you just wasted time. So again, it's about vetting the man. It's about the confidence you have in yourself. And honestly, it's really about spending time with yourself, getting rid of the how do I say it? The randoms. That's what I call
Yeah.
them. Call them
Yeah.
randoms. So getting rid of the randoms and really cleansing yourself, you know, really taking time to clear your thoughts, your body, your mind, breaking any of those soul ties of people that you've been with. then you really start to dig deep and you start to do the work that needs to happen in order to be in that high functioning relationship. So that's my piece of advice.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. And so I wanted to ask you this just off topic a little bit because you definitely nailed it with the low bar and the mentality that goes behind that and everything else. But what, when I asked you to come on and do this paint shipping relationships, and now we're 8 episodes in or whatnot, and first season done. I mean, what are your thoughts about this whole journey so far?
It's a time of reflection, even for me. It's a time for me to kind of recheck myself
Hmm.
and make sure that I'm in a good place and make sure you're in a good place, and it's just honestly it's a reality check, because yes, I can speak the knowledge, but it's like you got to be able to live that knowledge, if that makes sense, in order to say it, because if I'm really not walking what I'm saying, people are never going to listen to me. And I'll just open it up, but most people on here don't know that, yes, I am a real life coach. And so, if I'm coaching other people on purpose and profit, how to make money, how to do all of this other stuff, I've got to be able to walk that. So, really, for me, you gave me a reality check. And so it just makes me continue to walk in the way that I need to. What
Yeah,
about you?
definitely. For me, I'd say it was more of a need of creating some positiveness, right? Or self-reflection. Something that you can take away, something you can take with you.
Right.
Um, I think a lot of times on these types of platforms, we're so accustomed to the drama, we're so accustomed to the rumors and all that extra stuff, and nothing that's going to be purifying for you. Nothing that you can say, okay, I watched this episode and now I can sit here and think, how can I apply that to what I'm dealing with or what I'm going through or what I want, right? So I think that this platform allows us to just have the conversation, start the
Right.
conversation. If other, shows come out and start that same progress, think of how much positive that would be as a whole. Instead of just the he say she say or the best this or the best that and this is the hottest thing and all that. How about something that's going to help, you know, put you up on a higher platform because you're working on yourself, self improvement, or having a better relationship, or just having the conversations about some of the things that we've covered in these episodes could have a really great impact on someone's life. Um, you have the platform of Second Life to do things, various things that you may not be able to do in real life, right? So why not have that, use that platform in such a positive way or an influencing way that helps, you know, build a person than to just tear them down.
Hmm.
So I feel like with this show, and I mean, it doesn't stop. There will be another season, a second season. So definitely stay tuned for that. Um, but just the fact that, and if there's any topics you want us to cover, just hit us up, either one, and we'll definitely be happy to, go over those topics and see how we can bring that, to the show, to get different point of views and continue the conversation. Um, because it definitely starts with that conversation and then you have to implement those ideas, right? So I always go with the lie, acronym. So you learn it, you implement it, and then you execute it,
Hmm.
right? So that's what this show or these topics are about. It's not to say that me and Rain had a perfect relationship because we don't. There's times that I get on her nerves,
Vice
but it's just
versa.
her nerves, but
Vice versa.
yeah, I mean, but at the same time, it's all about taking those, having that openness to discuss that with one another and realize, okay, this is where I stepped wrong. Or like in some of the shows we talked about where, you know, here's a couple that's been together, in real life as well as SL, and they have their significant others.
Right.
We've covered that in our show here. How
Right.
does that work? You know, versus some relationships where there's just one person on the game, they have a whole nother life going on and outside in real life, and they're hiding this from what they do because it's
Mhm.
just their own little thing. How is that, helping you, or what are you getting out of that? Because something's missing in RL that this is your getaway to do that,
Mhm.
right? So,
Mhm.
and that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, then what do you do to, are you taking what's missing? Maybe it's wanting to be creative, right? Or having that sense of wanting to travel and do things. How can you add that into your real life so now it's more fuller?
Mhm.
Or you're just gonna live that out in SL and just, go from there. So, I mean, shows like this is, and it's a lot of them out there that's on that level has been great. And so I want to thank you, Rain, for even, accepting the offer to even do this and be a part of this. And I just feel like, season two is going to be crazy. I really feel like it's going to be something else, I really
Yeah,
do.
it will be. We're going to get into some juicy conversations there.
Right.
Just
Well,
saying.
yeah, definitely. Definitely. And with your help, the people who are watching right now or listening and giving us different ideas of what you want to see, it becomes more interactive. So I'll definitely look forward to that.
Right.
But with that being said, I just want to thank you. I
Me
want to
too.
thank you all for tuning in and, thank you for riding with us this first season. And we look forward to bringing you more in season two.
See you then. Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye bye.